Hey, how's it going? I'm Nick and welcome back to I Can Do That DIY for another doll repaint video. Today I'll be customizing Honey, the doll that I designed and created myself. Alright, let's get started. For this project I'll be making a character from one of my favorite childhood TV shows. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles forever. I used to watch the cartoon and was obsessed with the live-action movies. There have been many versions of the Turtles throughout time, but of course the originals are my favorite. I really liked the new movie, which actually inspired me to make this doll. My favorite character is definitely Michelangelo because he's a party dude. A close second is Raphael just because my favorite color is red, and of course I always liked that he was rude but cool. But you most likely figured out from the thumbnail that I'll be doing Michelangelo for this project. There are a few problems I've always had with the original design, so I decided to change them. For starters, I decided to actually make them look like turtles. The original design kind of makes them look like some weird frog-turtle-human hybrid thing with 3 toes and 3 fingers, which never made sense to me. So yeah, I went more in a turtle direction, which is weird because they're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Anyway, so we have 5 fingers and 5 toes on each foot, a more portly rotund build because that's how turtles look, and more of a just overall turtle appearance. Of course I kept the calves, forearms, hands, and feet pretty big because that's the Honey aesthetic. And yeah. Now let's go ahead and print Michelangelo. I'll be using cocoa colored resin and my ELEGOO 3D printer. But before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Also, make sure to hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all of our latest projects. If you haven't already checked out the website, go check it out. www.thehoneydoll.com. There are a bunch of different options on the website for you to explore. You can purchase a stock honey or customize your very own. There's always new things being added to the shop, so make sure to keep an eye out. Alright, now let's get to the project. So here's how Michelangelo turned out after he was all 3D printed. Here's the front and back shell. It's actually held together with magnets. There are 3 magnets in total. Cool. Here's how the head turned out. The face is actually attached with magnets. There are 2 magnets in the base and in the face. Awesome. Here are all the other body parts. Here are the legs, both the thighs and the calves, and the feet. Here are all the arm parts. Cool. And here are the hands. Now let's go ahead and start painting everything. I'll be painting all the parts with 100 green acrylic paint. I'll be watering it down and airbrushing it on. After a few coats on all the pieces, I'll give everything a black wash using some watered down black acrylic paint. Alright, cool. Now that all of the black wash is dried, I'll start dry brushing all of the parts. I'll be using progressively lighter tones of green, working my way up to a very light green. This will really bring out the texture in the skin. Alright, awesome! Now I'll move on to doing a base coat for the front shell. I'll be using a honeycomb acrylic paint, which is kind of like a light brownish tan. At first I'll try to avoid the black wash that I did in the cracks, but then I decided it's more difficult to avoid it, so I'll just paint over it and shade it in later. After that, I'll go back to dry brushing, this time focusing on the shell. I'll start with a dark brown for the back shell, and then move on to a lighter brown. For the front shell, I'll start with a lighter tannish yellow, and then move on to a yellow. Alright, radical! Now let's move on to adding some shading with some pan pastels. To start, I'll use a burnt sienna extra dark. I'll use this for around the edges of the shell and the cracks of the shell. After that, to add some more depth to the folds and to the cracks, I'll be using a black pastel. I'll seal in the pastels and my paint job with the layer of Mr. Super Clear. Then I'll move on to painting the nails. I'll paint the fingernails and the toenails black with acrylic paint. Alright, cool. Next up is the eyes. I'll start by painting the iris brown with various tones of brown acrylic paint. I'll paint the pupil black and the sclera white. This is how it looks after it's all painted. Now I'll do one layer of epoxy in the iris. I'll pop any bubbles and cure it with a UV light. Then I'll dome the top with some more resin, cure it, and then gloss, and then cure it again. Radical, these look really good. Now I'm just going to use some poster putty, make a little ring, put it on the eye, and place the eye into the eye socket. I'll press the poster putty into the backside of the face to secure it. I'll do the same thing for the other eye. Coolio, these look really good. Next up, I'll be making his nunchucks. I'll be using some kitchen skewers, some chain, some Worbla, and some jump rings. I'll start by cutting some kitchen skewers to the proper length. Then I'll cut and bend some jump rings to U shapes. Then I'll just jam them and glue them onto the end. Then I'll add the chain. Awesome, these work perfect! Once the chain is in, I'll seal in the edges with some Worbla. I'll just heat it up and place it. Alright, after I do all 4 ends, I'll paint them all gold with some acrylic paint. Then I'll cut some strips of muslin, and then wrap the wood part with the nunchuck. Alright, cool, those look pretty good. I'll just do the other side and we can move on to making a mask. I'll start by taking some muslin and draping it over the face. Then I'll trace the general mask shape and make a pattern. Once I have my pattern, I'll trace it out on some fabric. Then I'll cut it out and finish the edge with some fray check. After I go around the perimeter, I'll cut the eyes off screen and do the eyes too. Next I'll use my steamer and steam the mask to make it pliable. Then I'll stretch it over the face so it can form to the face better. Then I'll use my quick dry tacky glue and glue some key points to secure it to the face. Cool, that looks really good. I'll just tie the back and move on to making some wrist wraps. I'll use the same orange cotton and finish it with some fray check. Then I'll wrap it around the wrist and glue it in some key points to secure it. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Alright, next up I'll work on his belt and harness using some scrap leather I've had for about 10 years. It isn't the right color, but we'll make it work. I'll cut some 1/4 inch strips and some 1/8 inch strips. Then I'll use a Prismacolor marker and color them. Let's set that aside and move on to the Ninja tools. This is the buckle. Of course it has an M on it for Michelangelo. I'll be giving everything a black base coat, which includes his shurikens and his kunai. He'll also have 3 cans of spray paint. Next I'll paint the black area silver. After that, I'll work on the chest strap that'll hold the shuriken. I'll glue a piece of the 1/8 inch strap onto the 1/4 inch strap. After I glue down a little strip, I'll start adding the shuriken. I'll add a shuriken, then add some more glue to secure it. I'll continue on until I add all 5 shuriken. I'll glue some more of the 1/8 inch strap for the back portion. Then we can move on to finishing up the other tools. I'll wrap the handle of the kunai with an 1/8 inch strip of muslin. I'll just secure it with some super glue. Once it's all wrapped, I'll just trim off the excess strings. Then we can work on the spray paint labels. We'll be making them into some Krylon spray paint. I printed some labels at the appropriate size. I'll just cut them out, and then use some double stick tape on the back. Then I'll just stick it onto the can. I'll cut off any excess, and there you go, mini spray paint cans. Off screen I added some other detail like painting the cap and adding a little paint splatter. Now let's move on to making the belt. I'll use a double layer strip of 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch leather and attach it to the belt. After I do one side, I'll do the same thing on the other side. Then I'll attach the kunai to the belt the same way I did the shuriken. I'll do 2 on the wearer's right. After that, I'll attach the shuriken strap to the belt. I'll just add a little dab of glue and place it. Then I'll add some more glue on the back and trim off the excess. Cool. Now let's go ahead and attach it to the body. I'll take off the back shell and glue the front down on the sides. After I do that, I'll mark the position on the back shell and add the strap for the back. I'll add some glue to secure it to the edge and stretch it across the back. I'll glue a little bit at the top and stretch the bottom portion along the back. I'm going to keep the bottom taut with a piece of double stick tape. After that, we can start adding the spray paint cans. I'll just measure and place them. After I place all the spray paint cans, I'll glue down the remainder of the 1/8 inch strap off screen. Then I'll connect the front shuriken strap to the back belt. I'll give this a slight angle so it hits center back. Then I'll just trim off the excess and attach the other side. Once I attach the other side, the doll is complete. So here he is, here's the finished result. Oh my god, he's totally radical. I love him so much. I'm really happy with how he turned out. I think he looks super cool. I love all of his little ninja accessories and his spray paint cans. Originally I'd only planned to do one turtle, but I love him so much that I'm really inclined to do all of them. I'm really happy with his overall turtliness. I think he reads much more of a turtle than the original design. He actually kind of gives like older Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle version of Franklin, which is kind of funny to me. I also love his really bad posture and his dad bod. It definitely gives turtle and I love it. What do you think of Michelangelo? Do you love him as much as I do? Would you be interested in seeing the other turtles? Or do you have any 80s or 90s favorites? The turtles have a special place in my heart, so I'm really happy with this project. Thank you so much for watching, and for the rest of the video, enjoy the remainder of the photos. Thanks again for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!